Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I'm Jonathan Bearded Blevins, father of 3, 1 on the way, and I think that most media marketed to kids and media that really isn't for kids is just horrific for families.
And I'm Katie, MrsRuvi, and generally I think there's redeeming qualities in a lot of the media that's marketed to kids. Today, we're talking about something that was neither marketed to kids nor appropriate for kids, and yet there keeps being kids.
Yeah, we keep doing these episodes on, I have a Twitch channel, and I'm live on Twitch, and I'm telling people that I'm going to go see Joker 2.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? It's horrible. And I was like, well, because I have to find out if it's for kids. And they're like, well, clearly it's not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, clearly it's not. So then I text you and I'm like, why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. And then we go to the theater and I see children in the theater.
Children in the theater.
Is Joker 2 for kids?
Yeah, you had a tweet from a friend of yours talking about
some horror film. That they tweeted, why did I just see 6 and 7-year-olds in this theater?
Yeah, there's this huge disconnect in the world with like what we're bringing our kids to. So if you're ever curious, like, why did we decide to do this particular piece of content? It's because people are taking their kids to see it.
And I think that parents maybe think that these kinds of movies, that like horror movies or movies that are rated R or something, that your kids are young enough at 5, 6, and 7 that they won't remember them or they won't be impacted or influenced by them at all. And I just think that that's really naive and ignorant.
I personally was massively scarred by the Leprechaun movie when I was 7 years old with Jennifer Aniston.
For me, it was Pet Sematary, and I was 11. So
yeah. Wild. Joker, Folie à Deux, which is my favorite thing to say.
Good job.
Folie à Deux.
It's French, of course.
Somewhere in the French are
part 2. Is that right?
No, it's
Dang it.
Folie à Deux is
finale 2.
No. It's a psychiatric term, actually, used for people who are sharing a joint delusion. It's folly, or like the word folly, something that you did wrong, a mess up for 2.
I walked in and I looked at the poster for it and it said that, and I was like, I can figure this out. It means part 2.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I thought it was really smart. Okay, I'm not.
So just a quick summary of the plot points for anybody who's not there. This is the follow-up to 2019's Joker, which follows Arthur Fleck. Now, in the first Joker movie, he kills 5 people, 3 on the subway, 1 guy that he used to work with, and 1 man live on national television.
6, actually.
6, actually, including his mother. And in the movie, the new movie, he's being tried for the murder of 5 because nobody knew that he killed his mom. In the meantime, it's like set against this Gotham that's got a huge class warfare unrest. Like, it's basically if San Francisco was fictional, it would be Gotham, or if the internet was fictional or was like real life. Sorry, it would be Gotham. So like it's set against this backdrop of a huge class problem, and you're watching Arthur Fleck struggle with mental illness while being in the prison ward of Arkham Asylum. And while he's there, he meets up with Harleen Quinzel. Yes, that's her real name, who is there, voluntarily committed herself specifically so that she could meet Arthur because she believes Joker is his truest self and she wants to bring that out in him and meet him. So in the meantime, he's going through his trial, being pulled back and forth between his mental illness and people who want him to be the Joker and symbolize this whole class warfare situation. If you don't want this movie spoiled for you, please stop it now. At the end of this movie, it becomes very apparent that although we have been led to believe for these last 2 movies that Arthur Fleck is the Joker, he's clearly not. The actual Joker, as we understand him from the Batman comics, kills Arthur Fleck at the end and slits his own face into the Heath Ledger smile, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it becomes apparent that at no point in the last 2 movies were we looking at a Batman villain. That's like the number one jumping off point for me, is that this is not a Batman movie. If you're taking your kids to see a movie because you love Batman, because you love DC, because you love comics,
and you think Joker's a great villain,
you're going to want to stick to the Batman comics, the Batman TV show. Joker is not that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It is a commentary on mental illness, on the prison system, on class warfare. It's all of those things. It has nothing to do with Batman.
When we're looking at things that we want to shield, shepherd, and share with our kids, let's start with shield.
All of it. I mean, there's bad language, which actually surprises me a little bit, just because.
Not me, they're in prison.
I know, but like, I don't know. It was weird. There was a lot of F-bombs.
Every sentence almost in this movie contained a swear word.
Yeah, it's very dark, obviously. Really, really focusing in on mental illness, and not just his, but everyone in the prison and everyone around him, including some of the police officers who are
concerning.
Yeah, very concerning
to say the least.
It's grotesque. Like I said, horrible language. It's a scary film. Anyone dressing up as a clown
terrifying.
talking about killing people is scary. So I would shield. Yeah, it's clearly a movie that is not for kids. Like you said, it's not a Batman film. So there's quite literally no reason to take especially young kids to see this.
Yeah, it's not a comic book movie at all. This movie was not made or marketed for kids. It's not a Batman movie. There's violence, there's swearing, there's probably the most uncomfortable sex scene I have ever seen. I've seen since Beautiful Boy. That was an equally uncomfortable sex scene. And even for adults, like if you love a mentally ill person, which I do, this movie will be extremely difficult for you.
Yeah.
Extremely. So there's your shield moments. Shepard, what do you think? Anything in there that you'd be interested in?
Nope. I mean, you might, right? Because my oldest kid is 9 years old.
Yeah.
So, would I maybe take my 16 or 17-year-old to this movie and have a conversation about the prison system? Maybe.
Yeah.
Like if he was interested in that.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that like if you have a well-formed older teenager like this, and when I say well-formed, I mean like they're not easily influenced by what they see. So this is one of those situations where if your kid is easily influenced, is mentally ill, is likely to don't take that kid.
Yeah.
But if you've got a kid who's not going to repeat swears, who's interested in social justice, who has, sort of an interest in these kinds of things, maybe prison reform, then you could have some good conversations there, but you just need to be careful because there is a lot of swearing. Now, I don't want to say that like older kids should never be around swearing or any kids should never be around swearing because there's a certain subset of the population that you're just going to have to accept swearing in order to be a good human and love those people, and the mentally ill are among them. So that's something to think about. And I did think that it was interesting that they have a little bit of a question of like the closest person to a problem is the best person to solve it. That's a really important thing that I think a lot of teenagers are not empowered really to like look at a problem and say, by loving this person, by being kind to this person, you can do good in the world.
Yep.
So that might be a conversation, but again, only for an extremely well-formed older teenager.
100%.
Or adult. Sharing.
I have nothing to share from this movie for kids, but I have a message for parents that I'd like to share. Do you see what I did there? Do you see what I did there?
I love it.
I would like to let parents know and encourage you really not to be naive. This movie's not for kids. Neither is any R-rated movie that was made in the last decade. And so just don't take your kids there. And I've met so many parents who are, for whatever reason, they're trying to be cool, they're trying to relate to their kid. They take him to see movies like this. They swear in front of them or they're like, don't do this at school. Don't do this in front of your friends. And they, for some reason, trust that their 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old is going to listen. And they're the ones who are at school who are sharing, my dad let me watch this. My dad says this in front of me. They're absolutely telling everyone, don't be naive. Be a good parent. I really do question people who are taking their kids to see movies like this, especially ones who think like, oh, my kid isn't going to go and share all this language that they hear. It's just super naive.
It's extremely naive, and it also kind of misses the point. Like, if you're a parent, what I wrote down as far as share things was like, you don't need to see this movie to share the themes that came out of it. I can tell you right now that the themes of this movie involve helping out the most outcast in society. So we're coming up on holiday seasons right now. You don't have to take your kid to watch Arthur Fleck be stabbed in the stomach by a psychopath that has no motivation for it. You can take your kid to volunteer at soup kitchens. You can take your kid to hand out bundles downtown among people experiencing homelessness. You can teach your kid to help fix roofs for people who are in need. I have a nonprofit called the Good Egg Fund. If you need money to be able to do a project with your kid, go to goodeggfund.org and request a very small grant, and we can help you to do good in your own community with your kids. Like, that would be the message or takeaway. That would be the share. You don't need to see this movie to embrace, like, there are important themes in this movie. And I think it's good for some people to see it, to embrace or to understand those themes. But your kids don't need to see it. And the themes that they're working on are things you can come at positively. Well said. Yeah. I do want to share one thing that I did read online that is fun. It's kind of a conspiracy theory about this film. I love it. Because I think that the very first Joker does a great job of highlighting the point they're trying to highlight, which is the importance of mental illness and all of those things and all the different things that need reform. Yeah. And the second movie really just hammers that point home. Adds in the prison system. 100%. Yeah. But the little like conspiracy that I read online, which I think is a little bit funny, is that this movie was to prove that sequels do not need to be done. That it was literally done as a look at us making money and there's no point in doing a sequel. And it was a hilarious read. So I'll share it with you after.
Maybe we'll put it in the comments.
There you go. Hey, John, if people liked this episode and they wanted to hear more content like this, where would they find it?
You can go to isthisforkids.com. We're very active anywhere that you can find podcasts. On our YouTube is really well done. The videos are awesome. Our editors are great. And our Instagram is kind of popping off. So let us know anything you want to see from us, what you want us to review, and we'll take it into consideration.
Guys, there's just so much content out there for us to know about as parents.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, MrsRuvi. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?